Hello, and welcome to the e-commerce evolution podcast, where we bring you the best of what's new and what's next in e-commerce. I'm your host, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce. And our mission with this show is to interview the top merchants, the top marketers, and the experts shaping the e-commerce industry. This episode of the e-commerce evolution podcast is brought to you by Zipify and their flagship app, Zipify Pages. Zipify Pages is an e-commerce sales funnel and landing page builder that seamlessly integrates into your Shopify store. Just start with one of a growing list of templates and then customize and go. These templates are created by my friend, an 8-figure e-commerce store owner, Ezra Firestone. Each template is built with proven conversion elements, but also features a simple drag and drop editor. So you can truly make these pages your own, so you can customize and tweak and test and create some awesome landing pages and sales funnels. So check out all the details, sign up for the beta at zipify.com. My guest today is Ryan Stewman, the hardcore closer. I'm so excited about this episode and what we're going to dive into. So Ryan, man, thank you so much for joining the show. And how's it going?
I'm excited to be here. Brett's going awesome. It's a beautiful day. I had an awesome weekend. I mean, like a weekend for the history book. So just like a good time in life, not business related, but I had an awesome weekend. It's Monday. We're already rocking it here at work. So dude, everything, I can't complain right this minute.
I love it. I've really trained my team. My team knows that when I come in on Monday morning, I am fired up. And Monday is one of my favorite days because I feel like Monday, the week is still full. You know, you can be totally optimistic. You're thinking about what can be accomplished. I love Mondays.
Yeah, me too. Friday's my day off. So Monday's like game day for me.
Sweet. So you kind of threw out that teaser. I'm just curious. Do you want to talk anything about the weekend? Quick 15, 30 seconds on the epic weekend.
Yeah. So the UFC was in town and for their event here in Dallas. And I got to hang out at like Dana White's table. Like he had bottle service at a local bar. I got to meet him and hang out with him and and then I went and talked to some of the fighters the next morning at the UFC where the hotel they put everybody up at. They put a bunch of fighters in a room and I got to give them like the, go out there and kick some ass and don't blow your money speech. and then all the dudes that I talked to won, and two of the dudes that I talked to won fight of the night.
Wow.
And so it was like, it's a pretty cool experience. Like, Dana White gave me the tickets to go sit and do. It was just like a truly crazy week. I'm not like a fight fan. You know what I mean? Like I think that's why they like me because they're like, this dude's not a stalker. He's not over here reciting our stats, telling us how to fight and shit, being an armchair.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons they like me, but it was cool hanging out with all those people. But Friday night, that was Saturday. That was late Friday night. And then Saturday, like middle evening, I met this David Goggins. I don't know if you've read the book Living with the Seal,
no.
But great book. But he went to Joe Rogan stand-up with us. And like this dude was like in Marcus Luttrell's SEAL team. And like they've killed hundreds of people. Like he's a complete badass. He did like 4,200 chin-ups in 24 hours and ran 100 miles in like 19 hours. He's known as like the world's fittest athlete.
Wow.
And I got to hang out watch and laugh my ass off with Joe Rogan. So it's good times this weekend for sure.
That's man, you were not lying about that being an epic weekend. That's phenomenal. And I've never been a huge fight fan either. I grew up watching basketball, football, but much respect for fighters. I don't think anybody has to be more disciplined or in better shape than those guys. I heard an MMA guy speak at a men's conference recently. The guy was just phenomenal. I mean, the amount of training they have to go through, the mental preparation, the mental toughness they have to have, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, my buddy Alan Belcher, he's a friend of mine, and he had a couple of guys that were in the fight. That's how it all happened. Is I met up with him at the bar, and he trains MMA fighters. So he used to fight in the UFC as well. But so that was how it all started. It was good times for sure. I'm still running on fumes from that.
I bet that is awesome. So you've got this name, the hardcore closer, right? And what's interesting, and so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how some of the hardcore closer principles work for e-commerce and all the aspects of the business that an e-commerce entrepreneur runs, from better landing pages, better videos, even, some sales tips, because I know there are people out there that are in sales. I believe every business owner is in sales to a certain degree. So we're going to dive into that. But how did you become the hardcore closer? If you could give us like the 30 to 90 second version of that.
I started out in the hardcorecloser.com was just my blog. And people started calling me that. And I was like, well, that's kind of a cool nickname. That wasn't what I intended. I intended it to be just like a brand, where anybody could be like the hardcore closer. I didn't want to be the guy. I wanted to be Ryan from hardcorecloser.com. But anyway, that's not what worked out. And people started calling me that. And I was like, well, if I turn down this nickname, they're going to give me a shitty nickname. And then I'm just going to be like some stupid guy for the rest of my life. I'm just going to stick with this one. And so that's how that kind of happened. But it wasn't my intention to become known as the hardcore closer. It was my intention to educate other people to turn them into hardcore closers, and not like in a pushy, mean way, but someone that's closing through the internet and through email and through direct mail and in person and on stage and from a webinar and in a video, like someone that is a hardcore closer, someone that can make sales across all platforms, no matter what it is they sell.
Yeah, and I think, if you look at the fitness world, this idea of hardcore has a very positive connotation. I know in some circles it may not, but being hardcore just means being tough, being good, being a pro, that type of thing.
Yep.
So very cool. So, and talk about this. I know you're friends with Russell Brunson. He's a mutual friend of ours. He and I launched a product a number of years ago. Great guy. He actually just launched a new book. He's going to be on the podcast as well pretty soon. But, he talks about the value of creating a persona like you did, and yours maybe was a little bit on accident. But talk about how valuable do you think it is to create this memorable persona? And do you think that applies to e-commerce as well?
A couple of things. Russell and I have, I've known him for about 2 or 3 years now. And we worked together a couple of years ago. And so I've been to his house and hung out with him in person numerous times. And the things that you see him doing now, a lot of that comes from the things that I've set him up with. I've taught him a lot about how we've done our things. If you'll notice his ClickFunnels account, their Facebook thing is huge now, and they're driving a lot of people there. The thing is, Russell's a lot better at this stuff than I am, some of it. So
very good at execution.
Have, the persona and stuff. I don't have to get into character and stuff like he does. I'm already this person and everything else. But at the same time, he has a lot more. He's more detail oriented than I am. But we have spent a lot of times me helping him build the whole following and us versus them and all the stuff that you see him doing right now. And then he's helped me, with webinars and stage selling and the automation things behind the scenes. So it's been a really good relationship. But I have a client that is in e-commerce, and I'm friends with Tanner Larson, and I know Trey Llewellyn in person, and I've met him a couple times. So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the things that go on in the e-commerce world. And your sales is no different. Selling women's shoes online or t-shirts through Shopify or whatever it is, paintings, it's all sales and sales. And I think that's what makes somebody a hardcore closer is if you can, if you could sell your t-shirts in person, but then you can also sell them through Instagram ads, but through a Shopify store. I think that's what makes somebody a good salesman if they can do it all across all levels.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Can you maybe share a couple of the biggest mistakes you see? So, and maybe gear this more towards language. So, if someone's creating this sales page trying to sell women's shoes or the latest golfing gadget or whatever, or if someone's in person, and what are some of the mistakes you see when it comes to language and things that keep people from actually selling?
Well, I think there's three key things especially in your world, we'll just keep it for the e-commerce world. I think there's three key things that you need in order to make the sale. And if you're not making sales, it's one of these three that you're missing. Number one is the offer. And people tend to discredit the offer. They're like, I have t-shirts for sale. But isn't it, I have amazing one-of-a-kind fitted soft cotton t-shirts for sale for today only. Isn't that a lot better than I have t-shirts for sale? And so that's something to think about. Oftentimes it's your offer. It's like how to get your hands on this, soft cotton, super nice, extra large t-shirt without having to pay shipping or handling or even having to, order something else, right? Like give them something they want without taking something they don't want. From them. So in other words, you get a free t-shirt, but without having to, take a minute-long survey or whatever it is. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the audience. Oftentimes people can have the best offer in the world, and then they have the wrong audience. And that's a big part of sales. You can be the greatest salesperson in the world. You could be the best Lamborghini salesperson in the world. But if you're talking to me, I'm not interested. I don't have the money to buy it. You know what I mean? I'm just that's not my thing. You could be the greatest Lamborghini person in the world, but if I don't have an interest in buying it, there's nothing I can do for you. So your audience is super important. You could be the greatest Honda salesperson in your life, but if you keep talking to people in front of the Rolls Royce dealership, you're never going to make sales. You could, and so on and so forth. So you've got the offer and the audience. And then the third part is the technology. And I think the technology piece is the easiest, especially for those of you doing e-commerce. Your technology is Amazon, Shopify. Maybe you've got some kind of personal infusion soft store that you've set up or whatever the case may be. But the technology is usually the easiest part. But if you know you've got a dead on offer and you're in front of the right audience, if you're offering the best baby product on the planet to people that recently had babies and they're not buying, then the chances are it's your technology broke. But if you'll focus on nailing those three things, which the offer is the hardest part, the audience is probably the most important part. And then the technology is the easiest part, but without the technology, you'll never be able to, obviously sell your stuff, deliver the leads, be able to create the follow-up sequences and everything else that you need these days in order to remind people that they wanted your stuff to begin with.
Yep. And I 100% agree, because if you have a decent offer to the right audience, that will work. If you have a killer offer to the wrong audience, that won't work. So I agree, audience is most important. And I see this all the time in e-commerce. People don't put enough energy, thought, time, or attention into the offer and, that unique selling proposition, but also, what do you do to get people to take action now, that type of thing. So, and actually maybe we could touch on that just briefly, because I know you're good at getting people to take action right away. So what are some of the tactics, some of the principles you use to get someone off the fence and taking action?
Well, I'll read you this today. I've made $7,400 so far from a Facebook post that I made this morning.
Not bad.
And
not bad.
It's not bad. It's a little over noon here. It's 1:30, 1:45 at this time. So right here, and I'll just read it to you. It won't be valid by the time your audience hears it. So it's not like it's an active offer or anything like that. But I'll give you an idea exactly how I position it. It says, here in about 2 hours, I'll be doing my 179th Motivational Monday speech to our tribe, our most elite clients. I've been doing these since 2012. We didn't even start numbering them until late 2013. So in reality, there's around 200 of these things that I've done. Each week I give these speeches, then we archive them in a tribe-only public site or in a tribe-only membership site that is never public, and no one outside of our tribe gets to listen to them. I've kept these calls a secret this entire time and have never sold any of them or turned them into a product or any of that. I've simply made them a resource for our tribe members. Today and today only, I'm going to offer you a chance to get your hands on a few of these recordings at a stupidly low price. First, let's talk about what's in the calls. Number one, how to structure sales pitches. The second one, top sales strategies. Number three, scripts for following up on leads. Number four, top marketing strategies. Number five, systemization. Six, the ultimate funnel. Seven, sales content that closes. And number eight, managing your priority. These are 8 of my favorite Motivational Monday calls out of all the ones that I've done. Out of 179, I picked these 8 for a reason. These 8 one-hour calls cover all the foundations that you need in building a massive sales machine. To be a member of the tribe, the price is $30,000 per year. We do 52 of these calls each year, plus other trainings, and I've never tried to put a price on them, but let's say that they are worth $250 each. By my math, that is $2,000 worth of training you're about to get your hands on. Even if you listen to one call a week, that's 8 weeks and 8 hours of content. I usually charge $20,000 to spend 8 hours with a client. Clearly, you can now see the value at $2,000, but that's not what you can get your hands on it today. Yes, this is a sales pitch. What else did you expect? But you can have all 8 trainings, plus I'll throw in the videos of me speaking live on stage for just $197 today only. All I ask is that you be patient with us. Once you pay, you will get the links, but it usually takes us a minute due to the influx of people buying just like you. All you have to do is send us our money and there's a PayPal link there. And it says this isn't some fancy program or something with an elaborate sales page. It's simply some low-key links that we don't let others usually get their hands on, but you can get them today. But this post comes down tonight. These audios will change your mind. And when you change your mind, you change your life. So you can see I littered that thing with scarcity and with the perception of value, right? Did you pick some of those things out of that?
Absolutely, yeah. Scarcity was all over, but also it was kind of the, going behind the curtain, getting into this secret society, to get stuff that really you shouldn't have access to.
Exactly. And that could be like, for commerce people, that could be like the hookup on, women's shoes, or that could be the hookup on designer jeans, or like awesome entrepreneur t-shirts. Like it could be that same thing. It's like, hey, normally if you go to Nordstrom's, a pair of jeans is $500 million a piece, right? It's like, but with us, we get jeans the same quality. They're twice as good, but our jeans are $50, right? So what we'll do is we'll throw in a set of 10 jeans, because why just sell $50 jeans? Why not be like, you can get 10 jeans today for the price you can get one from Nordstrom's, and they come in all all these sizes. Just tell us what size it is and we'll send them to you.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, I've seen some retail stores, physical retail stores, do things like closed door sales or VIP exclusive sales where maybe it's after hours or something like that. You can only get in by invite only, but it's crazy deals. I think you could do the same thing online. And to me, I think a lot of e-commerce companies fail to create like this VIP group, this group of people that they value and treat differently and make special and that type of thing. But then, as you kind of get that going, then you can invite other people to be a part of the VIP group. So really interesting. And it sounds like that post was working quite well.
Yeah. And I think even with e-commerce, what's popular right now are pop-up stores. So this morning I go to CrossFit 5 days a week. And this morning, in the process of trying to kill me, I noticed that in the corner, the coaches were setting up, like they were from somewhere else. Obviously, it said New Jersey on their license plate. But the coaches were like moving stuff in, and these people set up a shop where they were selling like, wristbands and armbands and headbands and T-shirts and shoes and stuff like that. They just like had it, pulled it out of a trailer. They just set up like a pop-up shop right there inside our box, right, our gym. And I think e-commerce people could do the same thing on people's websites and not be it like a pop-up ad, but, just like be that while people are reading an article about women's shoes, for example, just go back to that example, like people read an article about women's shoes. Why wouldn't you have the pop-up sale right there and the hookup on women's shoes? Yeah. I think, the guy that came to me with the problem that he was stuck with is, I work with him still. His name's Ryan Nichols. And the thing that he was stuck with was he had like one source of traffic, which was Amazon, to get rid of this stuff. And I opened his eyes to all these other sources of traffic that you can put out there, because he does wholesale. So like he buys it wholesale, puts it online for retail. And so I hooked him up with a bunch of other traffic sources that he could use just to get in front of people, because that's really all it is. Like you have something, you build the value, whether it's e-commerce or digital products or whatever you're selling. You have something that's value and there's a desire there. It's just a matter of getting in front of the right people. Yep. And building up the value. I love the idea of the pop-up shop. And I'm seeing this. I actually saw an article recently. Zappos is doing that now. So one of the biggest online sellers in the world, now part of Amazon, but Zappos now is doing these little pop-up shops around the country. Mm-hmm. And they're doing something really smart. They're actually partnering with the Humane Society as well. So it's like, come and look, shop shoes and jackets and stuff, and, rescue a puppy while you're here. And so there's great social media buzz around that. And they're posting pictures of the cute puppies and the deals and all that stuff. But I think this idea of the pop-up shop too, and someone, if you got Shopify as an example, you can do, face-to-face selling and of course selling online. So I think that is a really interesting concept, the idea of the pop-up shop. Yeah. And they're cool. They're like trendy, so why not capitalize on something that's already trendy? Yep. Totally agree. Well, let's talk. We're going to move kind of rapid fire through several other topics, because I got a lot I want to cover, and I want to pick your brain for our audience as much as we can. Let's talk about videos. So I'm a huge fan of video demos, product videos. We utilize them on YouTube and with paid ads and all kinds of stuff. But I know you are really good at video selling. What tips would you give someone for how to make a great video? So let's think of like a product demo video, but what are some tips you could give to make that video really sell? Yeah, well, I've made 1,291 videos so far on YouTube since 2008. So I got a little practice. Yeah, and that's not counting Facebook Live videos or that's just what's on YouTube. So, and that's because YouTube's the only one that keeps track. I don't have time to go count what else on Facebook on top of that. But it's safe to say that I've done a lot of them. And if I had a product to sell, let's say that I was selling T-shirts, I would treat it as if it was a commercial that came on TV. Like right now, YouTube ads are great, and they're cheap. A lot of people don't know how to use them, and so they're missing the mark. I mean, it's wide open. We're loving it right now. And if I sold a physical product, I would have people that looked really, really good at my physical product. If I was selling hoverboards, I would have tricksters that made it look easy. If I was selling T-shirts, I would have dudes that are ripped. If I was selling bikinis, I would have like the hottest looking chicks, what like every chick wishes she looks like when she saw herself in the mirror. If I was selling skateboards, I'd have the coldest riders out there. And I would treat it just like it was a TV commercial. It's like, hey, do you fantasize about being able to do kick flips? Yeah, me too. This board's the board that allows the rookies that have no experience to do kick flips within the first 24 hours, right? Like just sell that dream to them. A lot of people, they try to make these videos like the damn slap chop guy, which he sold a lot of that stuff, but really it's because he was demonstrating how good he was with the product, not so much the words that he was using. You ignored that this guy wouldn't shut up during the presentation because you're like, damn, did he just cut those fries that easy? Man, I was over here trying to peel this potato for 2 hours last night.
Right.
And so the same thing can be said. You can follow that model without having to have that obnoxiously, lurking pitch man like the weird rapist that ended up being the slap chop guy. But so you don't have to like have that dude, but you can still demonstrate your product. And the basis is like, hey, do you wish that you did this? Awesome. This is what this does. Let us help you with that by taking your money.
I love the simplicity. And I think this is where a lot of people go wrong in the selling is either they try to be too funny or too cute or too clever, rather than just like going straight for the biggest benefit and making it clear and making it compelling and making it easy to say, okay, I want that and I can get that.
You have to find the trigger. I'll give you like the best example of video sales is like Squatty Potty. And so this dude goes on Shark Tank and he pitches it. Lori Greiner, the lady from the Home Shopping Network, like picks up the contract and they pay the Coen brothers to write this ad. The Coen brothers, they're like some of the top marketers out there. It's a huge firm. And so they write this ad.
The Harmon brothers, I believe. The Harmon brothers.
Coen
brothers are the movie directors.
The movie guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for correcting me. And so they write this ad and they look for the trigger. They're like, okay, so how are we going to convince people that they need a stool to prop up while they're like using the bathroom? Right. And how are we going to do it without like making it really like dirty and gross, like low ball and low class? So they discover that there's like this kink in your colon, right? And so like if they show how like the human body, if you're sitting a certain way, then it kinks the colon. And that was the trigger. So they focus people. It's like, hey, you didn't even know you were having this problem, but here's why this problem exists. And they showed it to them right there. And immediately like 38 million people went, oh, well, that explains a whole lot. That was easy. And the next thing you know, everybody's propping their feet up, taking a poop now. You know?
Yep. Things flying off the shelf. And
that's it.
Yeah, tremendous example. Yeah. And actually, I mentioned this on a couple podcasts ago, but a good client of ours, Camp Chef, they sell barbecue grills and camp ovens and things like that. They just had the Harmon brothers create a video for one of their new products called the Woodwind grill. It's a wood pellet smoker. And it's phenomenal. They created this persona, the grill god. So the grill god is like the star of this video. But anyway, you got to watch it. It's hilarious, but they always do with their videos, it really sells, man. By the time you're done, you're like, I want to cook meat just like that. That's phenomenal. Cool. Well, let's talk about webinars just really quickly. I know you worked with Russell on webinars and I know you do a lot of that. But I could see there being some webinar plays being useful for e-commerce, especially for high end or if your product needs some education or some demonstration. But any webinar tips or how-tos that you have?
Yeah, so this is how you should be treating webinars if you're going to do them. So we don't do a whole lot of them. We have periods where we go through them or whatever, but I like to keep things pretty fresh. And so we don't do a whole lot of webinars. Like I've probably done maybe 25 or 50 of them. But here's what the thing that I know about webinars. First of all, it's got to be something that's exciting to keep people's attention. So if you're selling something that's low end, it's probably not going to work that well. But you have to think of a webinar is it like this. So one time I went over to like a friend's sister's house. And she's like, yeah, come over. We're going to have a chef cook us dinner. We'll all just have a good time and drink wine. And I'm like, this sounds awesome, right? Well, I show up over there and the chef is like the chef for some multi-level marketing company. Right. And he's got this little machine that like
cookware sales, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's got this little machine that turned like potatoes into chocolate pie. It was the coolest thing ever, right? And so and he had it down, man. He was like the slap chop guy. And he's like, well, what you do is you turn okra and boom, you've got chocolate marshmallows. Like, how the hell did you do that? And anyway, so this guy's doing all this stuff, right? Well, like obviously a lot of people bought from him that were there, right? I don't cook. So I'm like, well, you got the right offer. It's the wrong audience, bro. So, but there was like maybe 10 people there and like 4 or 5 of them probably bought whatever it was that he was selling. So I would treat my stuff the same way. It's like you invited people over. I would treat my webinars the same way. It's like you invited people over for something nice that, I didn't leave there going, damn it, they pitched me. I left there going, man, if I cooked, I'd probably buy that thing, but I don't cook, I just don't. And so that's what you want from the webinar too, is like to invite them over to enjoy something nice. And it may be like, you may sell something that's high end. Let's say you sell those grills for $1,200. well, you might be able to give them a free spatula for showing up.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's exactly the way that I would want to use it is, again, you go back to that. Who's your VIP audience? Who are your absolute target audience? Invite them, get them to invite other people as well. But to use the grill example, what if you brought in a top chef who really was a top chef and have them give, these are my top 5 grilling secrets. We're only giving these to our VIPs. This is not open to the public. Come and listen to these 5 tips. And then at the end of that, then talk about some new products you're releasing or some new gadgets or whatever. I love the free gift idea too. That's phenomenal. So I think webinar selling is a really under leveraged tool that some e-commerce merchants should take advantage of. So that's great. One of the things that intrigued me, and I know we got a couple more things and getting a little bit short on time, but you talk about getting in the sales state of mind. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, I think every business owner has to sell at some point, right? You got to sell a vendor, you got to sell an investor, you have to sell someone on your idea. We're selling all the time when we're trying to sell our products. But how do you get in the right sales state of mind? Because I think doing that first can help if you're writing copy or going into a meeting or getting ready to record your video or whatever the case may be. So how do you recommend people get in that state of mind?
Well, as strange as it sounds, music helps a lot. Right. If you're listening to slow, easy, chill music, you're probably not going to go in there feeling confident. I like to listen to hardcore rap, man. I get some Future or some like Jay-Z, or it's like this morning I was listening to Notorious Big. Those guys, like, I know that they say a lot of stuff people may not agree with. They're talking about crack and all that stuff. But the thing is, they really say some encouraging stuff. I know some of it sounds really stupid. I'm not talking about going and listening to like the booty music, stuff like that. But some of these things, these guys are talking about, they came from nothing. They came from like extreme poverty and crisis and no father and all these like terrible surroundings in the projects. And they just grinded their ass off. And now they can buy these cars and they go on these jets and they talk to you about how awesome they are in their music or whatever. And to me, that's like motivational, right? It's like showing me, like, so many people can look at it and go, oh, all he's talking about is like a bunch of illegal stuff. But like, this dude's saying that, hey, man, even in America doing illegal stuff, I'm doing everything that I can in order to make it out here. And I listen to that. And first of all, the beats and stuff are good. But at the same time, I'm thinking, man, I got it so much better than these dudes have or had it ever in their life. And if I just like, this just fires me up that if these dudes can come from where they come from, I can come from where I come from and do the same thing. And so that's like a huge part of it is music. The second part of it is confidence. Like if you don't like what you're selling, you shouldn't be selling it, first of all. But there should be a level of confidence. When you go and you talk to somebody, you should feel that they need your stuff, right? You shouldn't be talking to them if not, right? Like, if you sell shoes and that person ain't got no shoes, they need yours. This will change. Shoes will change their life. But you have to be in that mindset. If you don't believe, then they won't believe either.
Yeah, I love it. And it was interesting. You mentioned rap. I'm pretty sure Tony Robbins listens to rap as well. Like when he's working out and stuff like that's his.
Tony's always trying to be like me. I don't know what's up with that guy.
he didn't mention that specifically, but I think that's what he meant. I think that's what he was meaning by that. So it's great, man. And I think it is important to get in the right. I know it is. Before you sit down and pick up the phone and make a call, before you sit down and write copy, before you write an email, like getting in the right frame of mind. I don't think you need to listen to rap every time you do that, but getting into the right frame of mind at the beginning of the day, I think makes a ton of difference. So let's talk about.
Well, let me say this real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but maybe it's not rap for some of these people. Maybe it's a TED Talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a Gary Vee video. Maybe it's a Ryan Stewman video for some of you. You go over to my website. I got plenty of stuff that'll say to either piss you off or fire you up. You can make a decision, but maybe it's something like that does it for you too.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. He's super smart, totally relate to a lot of what he says. And so I think you find that trigger for you. You pay attention to that, get you in the right frame of mind, and everything becomes easier. Kind of get in the zone and things get a lot easier, which is great. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about follow-up emails. And so this is something where I think our audience could use tips here, whether it's an automated sequence where they're following up and trying to get someone to buy something else, or I know you help people with email sequences, getting them to buy the first time. But any email follow-up tips that you can share?
Well, every email should end with them, two things, with them waiting on your next email and them with a call to action. And so what we do when someone opts into our list, we hit them pretty hard for 5 days, like with sometimes twice a day during that 5-day period with exciting stuff. Like we're always like making it exciting to be in our inner circle. One of the things that Russell and I worked together on, that I learned a lot of things from him. One of the things he learned from me was like what I call like ethical cult building, where we're building a following. And I don't mean that as like, I'm going to ask people for 10% of their income in the afterlife. Like, I don't mean anything like that. I mean, like,
it's like building a tribe, building a community, right?
We're creating a true, strong community, a culture. And so, I think that when you first introduce somebody to a cult, what you got to do is you got to teach them the language. We're going to say the internet marketing is a cult. We have different language. We have conversion, PPC, FB ads. Like we got different language than everybody else. So one of the first things you got to do in order to make somebody feel comfortable in your cult is you got to get them acclimated with the language. So that's what I like to teach first. I like to drop some of our crazy language stuff so that they're like, what the hell does that mean, man? What is all this about? And it just draws them in from there. One of the like examples of language that we use is kangaroos, right? So like if you don't buy stuff from us, we call you a kangaroo, because kangaroos' arms aren't quite long enough to reach in their back pocket where their wallet should be, but they got plenty of length of arms to stuff a bunch of free shit in their pouch, right?
Nice.
And so we're like, these people that don't buy stuff, they're not window shoppers, they're not tire kickers, they're kangaroos. They hop in here, they take a bunch of free shit, put it in their pouch and hop on out, right? And so like we start indoctrinating them with our language. Another example for us is Harold. Harold is like the dude that works in accounting. When you work in sales, the accounting department's always tripping, or HR is always tripping over some BS that you're up to, right? It's like, how do you make that much money? Or did you tell somebody what you told them, or make an overpromise or whatever? Like this department is always, it's like internal affairs for cops. It's like HR for salespeople. And so we call those people Harold, like Harold down in HR again, so we just have like these little insider language that we use that creates it like, hey, I belong. Here's I know those same words, and that's what we do with the emails is we indoctrinate them into that language so that they start to feel like they belong.
Yeah. My good friend, Austin Bronner, he was on the podcast a while back. He talks about the same thing, like getting this, and he calls it the same thing, an indoctrination sequence, where it's all about, let's show people why we're different, how we're different, why our culture is different and our customers are different. And you paint the whole thing so people say, you know what, I want to be like that and I want to be a part of that. And yeah, I love the fact that you're teaching people language that makes them feel like, hey, I'm in Ryan's group, man. I'm like Ryan. So that's cool. So you leave them wanting the next email and taking action. How do you typically do that?
Well, think about it. You're reading the first email from me and you're like, kangaroos are hilarious. I wonder what this moron's going to say tomorrow. Right. And you can't help it. And then you get an email headline from you and it's like 4 days later and it's like buy or die. You're like, I've wanted to say that to people my entire life, And so I just keep it. But I'm kind of a natural jokester anyway, which a lot of people in sales are funny people anyway. And so I'm kind of a natural jokester, and I present my emails, and this may not work well for everybody else, but I present my emails as if like I'm like your older brother. I just put my arm around you. I'm like, listen here, little brother, let's talk about this. These damn kangaroos, they just hop up in here. And I just like make it seem really natural, as if, it's like people, when they come and they buy stuff from us or they come to our events or whatever, they feel like they truly know me. And oftentimes sometimes they know shit that I'd already forgot about. It's like, oh yeah, that did happen. That is cool. Huh?
Yeah, I love it. And so when you're looking at, email subject lines, because that's obviously a huge part of getting these things opened, arguably the biggest factor, other than maybe your name, who's sending it. But any tips then for creating that subject line? I love your conversational nature with the way you're presenting things in the email. Any subject line tips?
I like to follow Ben Settle, and you can go to like emailplayers.com, I think. And he's a friend of mine. I subscribe to his newsletter, but he sends an email out every day. And he always has, he talks a lot about headlines. And another place that I like to go for headlines is I like to see what is popular on sites like Entrepreneur and Inc. and Success and all the usual suspects, even CNBC or whatever. And whatever popular topics are trending, I'll put a spin off on those on my email subject lines. Let's say today that Facebook stock is up 5%. Then I'll be like, Facebook stock's up 5%, but I made 10,000% ROI last year. Here's how. Right.
Nice. Yep. So that kind of goes back to the joining the conversation in someone's head, right? I don't remember who I heard that from first, but that's kind of that mindset.
I mean, if it's already trending and it's already something that the big sites are willing to talk about, you might as well use it. And that's what makes you relevant too. If you, like Ben Settle taught me this, like if you truly, now there's some things you can automate, but when you're sending out stuff like that, if you're sending out in real time too, they're like, oh shit, this is a real person that's really sending me an email, not just some like, bot that's out there spamming me, right? It's completely different when your stuff's up to date.
Not just some canned thing that was written years ago and is just now being regurgitated and resent online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, I write blog posts. Like my big talent is writing. Very prolific writer. I got 5 best-selling books. I got 1,500 blog posts that I put together out there. I mean, I write for Forbes, Entrepreneur, like all this stuff. So writing's my thing. And so my whole thing is I write blog posts. Therefore, I got a reason to get back in front of my email list. Right? If I write a blog post and it's like, hey, I got something else for you, and my blog posts are all designed to sell, bottom line. And so it just gives me an ability to say, hey, I made something really cool for you. And you're like, oh, check it out, a blog post from Stewman. Oh, damn it, he sold me something else again. I guess my life's about to get better.
Yep. But people love that, and they say, man, I want to learn to sell like Stewman sells. And now that I've read this blog post, okay, now I'm on the hook. I want to buy this thing that he's selling as well. Awesome. So Ryan, someone listening, they're thinking, man, I like this guy. I want to dig into more of the content. What's the best way for someone to connect with you, start following you, starting to get indoctrinated into your way of doing business?
Yeah. So go over to hardcorecloser.com and just sign up. You can check out the blog. Like I said, over at that site, there's like 1,500 blog posts. You name it. I don't care what it is you sell. You name it, there's something written about it. Somehow you can use it to improve your business. So go to hardcorecloser.com. Get on my email list. Watch how I sell stuff. By all means, buy stuff. That's awesome. That's highly encouraged. And just enjoy all the content that's over there. From there, you can find my social media and all that stuff. But really, the best place for you to get anything coming from me is get signed up over at hardcorecloser.com.
That's awesome. And I'm a huge believer in, if you want to be better at writing email copy, sign up and watch a guy that dominates with his email copy. So go to Hardcore Closer, get on that list, check it out. Ryan, man, this has been phenomenal. Thank you for this. It's been a ton of fun, really insightful as well. So we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Brett. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Awesome. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Let us know what you'd like to hear more of, less of. Give us some feedback. As always, we'd love a review on iTunes. And with that, until next time, thank you for tuning in.